Well, Surrey City Council has approved changes to development permits for 3 towers, and that means hundreds of condo units. Have been condo units will now become rental units. City Councillor Linda Annis says the change is needed because of market conditions.
We have many, many projects on the books right now, but it's making it so that the developers can afford to actually build these projects. We have somewhere in the area of 40,000 units that have been approved for development, but they don't have the shovels in the ground. We need to find a way to get those projects moving forward.
So that is City Councillor Linda Annis. There are others, though, who worry the change will impact renters down the line when renters are looking for places to buy. And here is real estate advisor Menraj Dosanjh.
I am kind of scared that we're not going to see much more strata being completed. If you just look at the development timeline and just the life cycle, the way that I see it, we're not going to see another rush of major supply until maybe the early 2030s to 2035. 1/3 of Canada is renters. 50% of those renters have a hope of owning a home one day. And so if you continue to look at that demand, but the supply that's starting to now disappear, it only spells one thing.
Now, there are similar impacts showing up in the housing market across Metro Vancouver. And to talk about that, Michael Geller is with us in studio today. He's a planner and real estate consultant. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning.
How do you view the state of the housing market overall right now?
I agree with those who say it's difficult to build condominiums, and one of the reasons is because the banks require what we call pre-sales. In other words, you have to sell the home before it's built.
Right.
And, one easy solution would be for the Prime Minister to simply tell the banks to relax their pre-sale requirements so we could go back to financing projects like we used to do it when I started in this business. You built a project, you did a model suite, and then somebody would come along and decide whether to buy it. That in itself would be a very easy way to make it a lot easier to proceed.
And you borrowed money from the bank to build that project.
That's right, because the bank did its underwriting. They didn't ask the developer to prove the project was financially feasible by pre-selling, especially since over time it got to the point that a lot of those pre-sales were almost artificial sales. But that's one solution. But I do agree that right now the emphasis is on building rental and converting condos to rental. And I am concerned that there's almost an obsession with rental.
Well, should there not be, considering how difficult it is to find a decent rental apartment in the Lower Mainland for a decent price?
That's right, which is why, Stephen, I cannot understand why the City Council in Vancouver is allowing the demolition of so many older, smaller apartment buildings offering 600 square foot one-bedrooms at $1,500 a month to replace them with high-rises along beautiful streets. And you and I have discussed this before. It's wrong. There's no doubt that building 6-story wood frame along arterials is very wise. There's no doubt that building around transit stations is very wise. But last week council approved a high-rise at First and U. It makes absolutely no sense to destroy what is a lovely little neighborhood by allowing high-rises, especially because when you look at the cost, those 2- and 3-bedroom units, which are what we really need, are over $4,000 a month.
We saw this happen in Burnaby with exactly this. Some of the older building stock, the sort of 3 or 4-story walk-ups with larger apartments, 2 bedrooms, something that could accommodate a family, somebody new to Vancouver maybe, were all torn down in favor of high-rises. And in many cases, those high-rises are full of very small studio or 1-bedroom apartments.
I was at a function last night with some of Vancouver City councillors, and I told them I was going to be here with you this morning, and I told them I really question why they're doing it. And it's not as if I haven't had some experience. As you know, I was with CMHC. I've seen how we've financed rental housing in the past. But I do agree with the fundamental point that we need to put more emphasis on building condominiums, especially more affordable condominiums.
Now, people might hear that and think, Michael Geller, what the heck are you talking about? Because Vancouver is nothing but condominiums. It's been nothing but condominiums for the last 3 decades. It's all the city has built, and we need rental housing.
Along the Broadway corridor right now, my understanding is there's about proposals in process for about 20,000 new apartments. And of those, less than 1,000 are condominiums. And that's because the city has successfully, I would say, encouraged developers to switch from condos to rentals. But the pendulum has swung too far, in my opinion.
But none of those are built yet.
And a lot of those rental projects will not be built, but some affordable condominiums would be built. It's ironic, Stephen, that last week you had Councillor Montague in here telling you he was going to help bring down property taxes by using land in the Property Endowment Fund. And what is the city going to do? They're going to build market rentals. Stephen, with respect, you'll be a grandfather before the city gets any money from those rental apartment buildings.
I could be a grandfather anytime. No, but I mean, a lot of people are welcoming any kind of increase in rentals because they need the price of rentals to come down. I mean, what you've got is, you talk about the people who aspire to owning a condo. Those renters are going to be condo owners one day. They're not going to be condo owners if they're spending $3,500 on rent, because how are they going to save for a down payment?
And that's precisely why I would love to see the city of Vancouver and other municipalities. Burnaby has just set up a housing corporation, and I've spoken to their new CEO. Look at creative ways to create affordable housing. Build affordable condominiums on leased land, where in the beginning their lease payments are zero and you have a graduated payment lease, and over 99 years the city begins to generate revenue. There's a lot of creative ways to do this. In North Vancouver, I'm working on a project where we're designing condominiums so that two people, unrelated people, could share a one-bedroom. There's creative ideas. How do you do that? You put a door to the living room so the living room becomes a bedroom at night. My point is, we need to just be creative to address affordability.
Sure, but that's a pretty sad state of affairs, isn't it? When you want somebody wants to own a condo and they have to, rent their living room out to somebody overnight?
No, they don't rent it. Two unrelated people buy together. And indeed, I often encourage young people, get into the market as soon as you can. And one good way is for two people to buy a two-bedroom together, or to buy even a one-bedroom together, just to get into the market.
So where we are right now, I mean, you're looking ahead saying, we need to build more condos now because we're not going to have enough condos for all the renters who are turning into buyers. We don't have the rentals for those renters first who are going to turn into buyers. I mean, are you not getting ahead of yourself here?
No, what I'm saying is we need to bring a bit more balance back, because the pendulum, as I said before, Stephen, has swung so far. I mean, right now we have 1,400 new rental apartments coming on stream next to the Burrard Street Bridge. Throughout the municipalities, we're seeing a lot of new units. The other thing and you and I discussed this years ago, about 40% of the new condos actually became rental through what we call the secondary market. In other words, the only people who were willing to buy apartments 4 years in advance of completion were investors. And we have successfully, your listeners have successfully killed investor interest in new condominiums, even to rent them out. What we need is a balance, but I am worried that the city of Vancouver, with a variety of ways, including reducing all the development fees, encouraging higher density, is become almost obsessed, especially with these high-rise rental buildings. The city's about to announce a new program proposing high-rise social housing, 15 to 20-story buildings that can go anywhere in the city or many neighborhoods of the city, to create social housing. Actually, that is what we really need. And if Mark Carney is listening to us now, that's what I would love to see. Let's go back to the 70s when CMHC made a lot of money available for social housing, co-ops.
Sure, but how well did those high-rise social housing projects, how did they end up faring in the end?
They weren't necessarily high-rise, and indeed, you're absolutely right. To anyone who's listening, the social housing should be buildings up to 6 stories. That's what families with children want. That's a more appropriate solution for people who've got a mental illness and drug addiction and so forth. But right now, we seem to have an obsession of building high-rise rental buildings, and I don't understand it.
All right. Michael Geller, we will talk again, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Michael Geller, planner and real estate consultant. Love to know what you think of what you're seeing out there right now. Do we need more condos? Does Vancouver need more condos? That sounds like a novel like a novel argument. However, Michael Geller says no.